Welcome to the 5th day of learning web programming. You're doing great! You've learned some HTML and basic web development. That's a big step. Keep going and make small steps every day. Don't worry if it takes you more time than planned. Everyone learns at their own pace. Today you'll learn about CSS. You know enough about HTML now to start learning it. I hope you're excited as me because it will be great fun. Let's begin. CSS makes your projects look nice. I like it because I enjoy making things look better and trying new things. In this video, you'll learn basic CSS and practice with examples. Here's what you'll find in this lesson. CSS rules. You'll learn how to make CSS rules and their parts. Types of selectors. You'll learn about different ways to select parts of your web page to change. Finally, I'll give you some exercises to practice CSS selectors and rules. Remember, learning CSS is fun and each step brings you closer to making beautiful web projects. Stay curious and enjoy! Now let's learn about CSS rules and selectors. Think of CSS rules as the interior designer's plan for decorating your web page, similar to designing a house. Each rule has 3 essential components: a selector, a property, and a value. The selector is like choosing which room in the house to work on. The property represents the aspect of the room we want to change, such as wall color, furniture, or lighting. And the value is the specific design choice we apply. Here's the structure of a CSS rule. Curly braces are used to group the properties and values that belong to a specific selector. They help define the scope of the CSS rule, telling the browser where the rule begins and ends. The semicolon separates individual property value pairs within a CSS rule. It's like a full stop in a sentence, indicating that one styling instruction is complete and another may follow. The property names are often written in lowercase and use hyphens to separate words, such as background color or font size. For example, let's say we're designing a house and want to change the wall color in the living room. We can create a custom CSS class named Living Room to represent the living room on our web page. The CSS rule would look like this. In this example, the selector Living Room helps us choose the living room. The property background color represents the wall color, and the value green is the new color we'll use for the walls. Applying these CSS rules allows us to create a beautifully designed and personalized web page, just like crafting our dream home. When using this rule in our HTML, we would assign the living room class to the appropriate element, like a div. This way, we connect the CSS rule to the specific part of the web page. Let's expand our living room example to include multiple properties, such as changing the wall color, adding a border, and setting a specific width for the room. In this example, we use 3 property value pairs to style the living room. Background color green sets the wall color to green. Border 2 pixels solid black adds a 2 pixel solid black border around the room. And the next line defines the width of the room as 300 pixels. Don't worry if you still need to learn what pixels are. We'll talk about it later. For now, remember that they are a unit of measurement in web development. Each property value pair is separated by a semicolon, indicating the end of one styling instruction and the beginning of another. The curly braces define the scope of the living room rule, grouping all the properties and values that belong to this selector. Selectors are like filters that help us choose the elements we want to style on our web page. There are several ways to pick elements based on their characteristics. Type selectors target elements based on their HTML tag names. It's like selecting all fruits of a specific kind in a fruit basket. Here we select all paragraph elements and change their text color to blue. Class selectors focus on elements that share a specific class attribute. It's like selecting all items in a store that have a sale tag. Remember when we learned about HTML attributes? One of them is a class attribute. To use class selectors, add a dot before the class name. In this case, we select all elements with the highlight class and change their background color to yellow. The next one, ID selectors, target elements with a unique ID attribute. It's like finding a one-of-a-kind item. To use ID selectors, add a hash before the ID name. Here, we select the element with the main title ID and change its font size to 24 pixels. Understanding these selectors will help you choose the right elements on your web page and apply the desired styles effectively. We've just explored the three types of selectors: type, class, and ID selectors. To help you remember their syntax, let's briefly summarize. Type selectors target elements based on their HTML tag. Class selectors apply styles to elements sharing a specific class. ID selectors style elements with a unique ID attribute. You might be wondering what's the difference between class and ID selectors. Can you use them however you like? Well, it's not that easy. There's a big difference between them. Imagine a garden full of flowers. A class is like a group of flowers that share the same color or type, such as red roses or blue tulips. In a garden, you can have multiple groups of flowers with the same characteristics. On a web page, a class styles several elements that share a common design feature. An ID, however, is like a rare, one-of-a-kind flower in the garden. It stands out because of its unique appearance, and there's only one of its kind. On a web page, an ID styles a single unique element on the entire page. So, a class is like a group of flowers with similar features, while an ID is like a unique, standout flower in the garden. Alright, let's move forward. Imagine there are several elements on a page, tags, classes, or IDs, and you want to apply the same style to all of them. How can you do that? So, if you'd like to apply the same style to multiple selectors, you can simply group them together in your CSS rule, separated by commas. In this example, we've applied the same font family and text color to all H1, H2, and H3 elements and elements with the main title class. Grouping selectors in this manner makes your CSS more efficient and organized. Feel free to experiment with different styles and combinations as you continue learning. At first, CSS is simple, but in large projects it gets more complicated. Styles can mix, making it tough to manage. You will soon see why there are so many funny memes about CSS. So enjoy the easy part and prepare for an exciting CSS adventure. Now let's practice with some exercises. The following code should make all headings bold, but it's not working. Please pause the video, find the mistake, and fix it. What's the solution? The mistake is that there should be a hyphen between font and weight. Let's go to another exercise. The following code should make the text color of elements with the error class red, but it's not working. Please pause the video again, find the mistake, and fix it. What's the solution? The mistake is that there's no colon between the property and value. Go to the next one. The following code should make the paragraph's font size with the ID important message 18 pixels, but it's not working. Please pause the video, find the mistake, and fix it. What's the solution this time? The mistake is that there's no semicolon at the end of the property value pair. And the last exercise for you. Below is a list of selectors. For each selector, identify whether it is a type, class, or ID selector. Please pause the video, write down your answers, and then check the correct answers. How it goes? Do you have all? Don't worry if you make mistakes. Everything needs practice. Keep learning and you'll be better and better developer. Great job! You've now learned the basics of CSS rules and various types of selectors. You've discovered how to create and structure CSS rules, target elements on your web page using different selectors, and apply styles effectively. Remember, learning CSS is an enjoyable and rewarding experience. Each step brings you closer to creating visually appealing and engaging web projects. Keep exploring, stay curious, and simply have fun. Welcome back! I have an exciting video planned for you now. We will explore different methods to add CSS to your projects. We'll first look at inline CSS, where we'll discuss the concept, provide an example, and cover the drawbacks of this approach. Then we'll move on to internal CSS, explain the concept, share an example, and discuss when to use it. After that, we'll explore external CSS, explain the concept, showcase an example, and highlight the benefits of this method. Finally, we'll discuss the separation of concerns principle, explaining its significance in web development and how it relates to the different ways of adding CSS to your projects. Let's get started. Inline CSS means applying styles directly to an HTML element using the style attribute. It's the most straightforward way to add styles, but it has limitations. Let's see an example. Let's add the style attribute to the paragraph in the hero section of our project. In the opening tag, please type with me style, then an equal sign, next open quotes, and within them type color, colon, red, semicolon. As you can see, even after adding a semicolon at the end, it disappears when saving the file. This happens because there are various ways to write inline styles. Personally, I always like to add a semicolon. Moreover, you can separate properties and values with a space or write them together. Both methods are fine. I prefer adding a space because it enhances the code's readability, especially when adding more properties. In the style attribute, you can include more than one property. Let's add the font size property and set it to 24 pixels. As you can see, Using a semicolon is useful when dealing with multiple properties. Alright, imagine you want to style multiple elements like several paragraphs or headings. With inline CSS, you would need to add the style attribute to each element separately. This could quickly become repetitive and result in lots of extra code. Also, updating styles across your entire project can be challenging with inline CSS. If you decide to change all your paragraphs' color or font size, you'll need to modify the style attribute on each paragraph element. To fix this problem, we can use an internal CSS. It is an improvement over inline CSS. By placing your styles within the style element in the head section of your HTML document, you can create reusable styles for multiple elements. This method helps minimize code duplication and simplifies managing your styles. Let's see this in action. Please follow along and write the same code as you see in my file. First, let's remove the paragraph styles from the previous example. Next, let's create a style element in the head section. Inside the style element, let's write a CSS rule for paragraphs. We will change the paragraph color to red and set the font size to 24 pixels. Now let's see the result. Our paragraph is red and its font size is larger. But does it work for every paragraph? Let's find out. For example, we'll create a second paragraph in the project section. Perfect. Now let's see in the browser if this paragraph also has a red color and a font size of 24 pixels. There you have it. As you can see, with internal CSS, you can write a CSS rule once, which applies for every element chosen by the selector. You don't have to add styles to each one manually. Great job! However, internal CSS is best for small projects or single-page websites. Having all your styles within a single HTML document can be hard to maintain for larger projects with multiple pages. Also, if you have a team of developers working together, having all your styles in one place can lead to conflicts and make collaboration more difficult. So it's time to meet the most efficient way to manage your styles, an external CSS. You can maintain a clean, organized codebase by creating a separate CSS file and linking it to your HTML documents. This approach is especially beneficial for larger projects or when working with a team, as it allows multiple developers to work on different aspects of the project without causing conflicts. Let's see an example. Just as in the case of HTML files, the extension is called HTML. For CSS files, the extension is CSS. Let's create our first CSS file in our project now. In VS Code, click the New File icon, as I did, and then type style.css and hit Enter. As it is good practice to name the main HTML file index.html, it is also good practice to name the main CSS file style.css. In the next step, we can start writing CSS code. Open the file you just created. If you had the HTML file open, like me, the CSS file will open in a new tab. I'll show you a great trick to make managing your code easier. We often need to create a class or assign an ID to HTML elements when working on CSS code. That's why it would be great to see the HTML code while writing the CSS code. We can do this by dragging the CSS file to the right side like this. Hold down the left mouse button on the tab with the style CSS file, then move the mouse to the right until you see a gray background on half of the editor window. Then release the mouse button. Awesome, right? Now we can see both files at once. Great! Let's start writing code. Let's write the same style as before, changing the paragraph color to red and increasing its size to 24 pixels. We begin with the selector, P, then type curly brackets and write properties with values between them. Writing them on new lines is a good practice instead of writing everything on one line. This makes the code readable for us and others. Save the file and check the effect in the browser. As you can see, nothing has changed. The paragraphs still have the default styles. Do you know why? It's because we're missing one more step. The CSS file is created, but the HTML file doesn't know about it yet. We need to add it to the index.html file. So let's go to the HTML file. We need to create a new link element in the head section. This element requires two attributes. First, we need to add the href attribute and enter the address of the CSS file we want to include. In our case, it looks like this. The file is in the main project folder, so we only need to enter its name, style.css. Great! For the link element, we also need another attribute, rel. It stands for relationship and indicates how the external file relates to the page. In this case, the value of the rel attribute is stylesheet, meaning a style file. So let's complete our code. Check if everything works correctly in the browser this time. As you can see, the changes are visible now. The paragraph is red and its size has increased. Wonderful, good job! In further work on the project, we will only use this method of adding CSS files. It is the most effective and has many advantages. As you can see, we can write styles for different elements in one place, giving us clarity. You must admit that it is a paradise for perfectionists. If you only remember one thing from this video, remember how to add CSS styles as external CSS. This will be the method you use most often for adding styles. The other two ways are either not used at all or used very rarely. Let's talk about the last but not least topic today, a very important one. The separation of concerns principle means keeping different parts of a project apart. In simple terms, the separation of concerns principle is like organizing your wardrobe. You wouldn't mix your clothes, shoes, and accessories all together, would you? Instead, you separate them into different drawers or sections for easy access and organization. Similarly, in web development, it's a good practice to keep your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript separate for better organization and easier maintenance. Understanding this principle helps you decide when to use inline, internal, or external CSS. Ideally, you should avoid using inline CSS and instead choose internal CSS for small projects or single-page websites. External CSS is the best choice for larger projects and it aligns well with the separation of concerns principle, making your code more organized and easier to maintain. And that's it for today's video. Now you clearly understand the different ways to add CSS to your projects and the importance of the separation of concern principle. Keep practicing and soon you'll master these techniques to create beautiful, well-organized websites. Hello! In this video, we'll discuss web-safe fonts, custom fonts, and some design tips to remember when working on your projects. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to confidently choose, download, and add fonts to your projects, while also considering design principles to create a great website. Let's jump in. In this video, we will cover the following. Web-safe fonts. I'll explain what they are, why they're important, and provide examples of popular web-safe fonts. Serif and sans serif fonts. We will discuss the difference between these font styles and their impact on design. Custom fonts. I'll introduce you to font libraries like Google Fonts and explain how to choose, download, and add custom fonts to your project. We will also add a font selected by our client to the project. Design font tips. I will show some tips on selecting fonts based on design goals, readability, and compatibility, as well as discuss the concept of font pairing. Let's begin with web-safe fonts. Imagine these fonts as your favorite pair of jeans. They are reliable, comfortable, and go with almost anything. Web-safe fonts are widely available on most computers and devices, ensuring your text looks consistent across different browsers and operating systems. Some popular web-safe fonts include Arial, Times New Roman, and Courier. What's interesting, you can use them at any time in your project because they are already pre-installed as default fonts. Let's return to the code editor and browser for a moment. We haven't touched the font family property in our CSS file yet. Let's look at which font is displayed by default in the browser. We will use Chrome DevTools to do this. Please hover your mouse over the text such as our heading. Right-click and then click Inspect. A window with tools will appear. In the Styles tab, you will find several CSS rules for our element, including font size, display, font weight, and some margins. The property related to the font is called font family, but as you can see, it's not there. That's why we need to look further. Go to the Computed tab, where all the styles are detailed. Check the boxes for Show All and Group to make it easier to browse the styles. Scroll down, and there it is, the font family property. Its value is times. As you can see, we didn't install it and it's already available in the browser. This is an example of a web-safe font. Next, let's discuss the difference between serif and sans serif fonts and their impact on design. Serif fonts have small decorative strokes or feet at the ends of their letters. This feature adds a touch of elegance and formality, making them a popular choice for body text in print materials, such as newspapers and books. If you were to think of fonts as shoes, serif fonts would be like classic polished dress shoes. Examples of serif fonts include Times New Roman, Georgia, and Garamond. In web design, serif fonts can evoke a classic, sophisticated, or traditional vibe. On the other hand, sans serif fonts do not have these decorative strokes, which gives them a cleaner, more modern appearance. They are often used for digital screens due to their improved readability at smaller sizes. In our shoe analogy, sans serif fonts would be more like modern sneakers. Examples of sans serif fonts include Arial, Helvetica, and Verdana. Using sans serif fonts in your web design can bring a modern, minimalistic, or casual atmosphere. Now let's move on to custom fonts. Custom fonts can make your website unique, like adding your favorite decorations to a room. And you don't need to look far to find the perfect custom font. Websites like Google Fonts offer a wide selection of beautiful fonts, all for free. Exploring the world of custom fonts can be a fun and creative journey. You can experiment with different styles, weights, and combinations to find the perfect fit for your website. From playful handwritten fonts to elegant script fonts, there's something for everyone. When choosing a custom font, it's essential to think about your website's purpose and audience. In our case, we're working on a programmer's portfolio website, and our client has chosen the Fira Code font. This font is an excellent choice for this project because it has a clean, modern look that fits well with the programming team. Now let's see how to add the Fira Code font from Google Fonts to our project. To do this, follow these simple steps. Go to the Google Fonts website and search for Fira Code. Click the Get Font button on the font page. Then click Get Embed Code to see the code snippet. Copy the code. Paste this code into the head section of your HTML file. And that's it. Super easy, right? And you might notice that Google's default code suggests using serif as the fallback font. However, monospace is the better choice for a CODER portfolio website, so that we will use monospace in our code. Let's add it to the body in our case. To do this, let's add a body selector in the style.css file. Let's check the effect in the browser. Great, it works! I just want to let you know that the font link in my videos during the course might look a little different, but there's no need to worry about it at all. Since I recorded this video, Google Fonts has updated its website. And what's important, changes like this are normal in tech, and learning to adapt is a part of becoming a great developer. It still works great for following this course, but please just use the updated process for your projects from now on. Now you might be wondering what this monospace means and why we use two font families one after another. Monospace is a type of font where each character occupies the same amount of horizontal space. This characteristic is beneficial for programmers as it makes code easier to read and maintain. In this case, monospace is used as a fallback font. When you specify multiple font families, the browser will try to use the first one listed, Fira Code in our example. If it cannot load the first font for any reason, it will try the second font in the list, which is monospace here. This ensures that if Fira Code cannot be loaded, your text will still be displayed with a monospace font, maintaining readability and consistency in your design. Fallback fonts are a great way to ensure your design remains consistent across different devices and browsers. Let's take a look at another example. Here, the browser will first try to use Helvetica. If it cannot be loaded, it will try Arial. If neither Helvetica nor Arial is available, The browser will use its default sans serif font. Alright, we already know a lot about fonts and have installed the first font for the project. It's time to discuss web design font tips. Web design is a very complex topic in general. In this course, we will discuss some web design aspects, but you need to know that it is a complete separate specialization. It's definitely out of the scope of this challenge. Okay, let's talk about some important things to remember. Web development is like picking the perfect colors when painting a picture or choosing the right ingredients for a delicious meal. You want everything to work and look well together. And choosing good fonts is one of the ingredients of a great website. First, let's talk about readability. You want your website's text to be easy to read, just like a book. Choose fonts that are clear and easy to see, even when they are small. Fonts like Arial and Verdana are known for being easy to read and are excellent choices for your website's main text. Next, think about the goal of your website and who will visit it. Are you making a serious website or a fun one? Pick fonts that show the feeling you want your website to have. For example, a website for kids might use a fun font like Comic Sans, while a business website would use a more formal font like Georgia. Just like you wouldn't wear clothes that don't match, you want the fonts on your website to look good together. It's called font pairing. Try to use no more than 2 or 3 fonts. A popular combination is using a font like Roboto for titles and a font like Laura for the main text. It's also important to make different parts of your website stand out. To do this, use different font styles, weights, or sizes for titles, subtitles, and main text. For example, you could use a bold font for titles, a thinner font for subtitles, and a normal font for the main text. Lastly, remember to ensure your fonts look good on different devices and web browsers. To ensure this happens, use popular fonts or web-based font libraries like Google Fonts. Alright, that's it for now. This video helps you better understand the world of fonts in web development and design. Feel free to rewatch or pause the video to practice the necessary steps. Hello! Now we will discuss colors in CSS. Colors are another important topic for designing visually attractive websites and making the user experience enjoyable. In this video, we'll explore CSS 4 main color systems: RGB, hex, HSL, and color keywords. Let's get started. Think of these systems as different recipes for creating colors. We will mix and match colors. Each method has its unique way of defining colors, but don't worry, we'll go through each with simple examples to help you understand. Let's start with RGB. RGB, red, green, and blue, is like making a color cocktail by mixing red, green, and blue colors in different proportions. In CSS, you define each color by providing 3 values ranging from 0 to 255. The higher the value, the more of that color is used in the mix. It's like a recipe with 3 main ingredients and you decide how much each ingredient to use. For example, let's create the color red. This is like saying mix 100% red, 0% green, and 0% blue. If you want to create different colors, just adjust the values. For example, to create green, blue, and gray colors, we should mix them like this. Hex colors are similar to RGB, but use a hexadecimal numbering system. In this system, numbers range from 0 to 9, followed by letters from A to F, representing values from 10 to 15. Hex colors use a 6-character code, where each pair of characters represents the amount of red, green, and blue color. It's like the RGB recipe, but written using a mix of numbers and letters. Let's break down the hex system further. Each color code starts with a hash symbol. The first pair of characters represents the red component. The second pair represents the green component, and the third pair represents the blue component. Each pair can have values ranging from 00, lowest intensity, to FF, highest intensity. The example you see now is for setting red color. This is another way to say 100% red, 0% green, and 0% blue. If you want to create different colors, just change the pairs of characters. In these examples, the FF value is moved to represent the maximum value for the separate color component. HSL, hue, saturation, lightness, is like an artist's palette when you pick your hue on a color wheel and then adjust saturation and lightness. Hue represents the base color, saturation controls the intensity or purity, and lightness adjusts the brightness or darkness. It's like picking a color from a rainbow, then deciding how intense and bright you want it to be. This is how you can create a red color using HSL. This means select red from the color wheel, 0 degrees, make it fully saturated, 100%, and set its lightness to the middle value, 50%. If you want to create different colors, just change the values. HSL is not very commonly used in web development. The most popular are hex and RGB. Color keywords are like friendly names for your favorite colors. They are easy to remember and simple to use. There are over 140 predefined color keywords in CSS, which cover a wide range of colors. It's like having a box of crayons with labels on each crayon, so you know exactly which color you're choosing. Want to make something red? Just use the keyword. If you want to create different colors, just use their keyword names. There are some more original names too. Sometimes you might need to convert colors from one system to another, like changing a hex color into an RGB color. To be honest, converting color between systems can be tricky, and I prefer not to do it by hand. You'd need to understand hexadecimal and decimal number systems, which can be a bit more challenging and unnecessary at this stage of learning. Thankfully, many online tools are available to help you convert colors easily. You can find them in the materials section below this video. If you're curious about learning more about these number systems, including binary, I've also added some great resources to the materials section. This way you can explore the topic further at your own pace. Let's see a live example. Please go to the google.com website. You should see some buttons such as I'm feeling lucky. Right-click on the button and then click Inspect in the pop-up menu. In the Chrome DevTools, please go to the Styles panel in the Elements tab. Next, please find the color property with some value. Click on the color square next to the value and a color picker should appear. With the color picker open, we can now choose new colors for the Google search button. By clicking and dragging the circle inside, we can adjust the color intensity. On the two slides below, we can choose the color and its brightness. As you can see, the color value updates instantly on a website. Cool, isn't it? What's more, we can switch between different color systems by clicking on the small arrows next to the color value, just like this. Now that you know the different color systems in CSS, you're ready to create beautiful, colorful, and inclusive websites. So let's learn some more CSS properties and make our project more attractive. Hello, you already have some basic CSS knowledge, so now we'll focus on popular properties that will help you quickly style text and backgrounds. By the end of this lesson, you'll know how to change text properties like color, size, and font, and style backgrounds using colors and images. Alright, let's start with text properties. You know when you're typing in a text editor like Microsoft Word and have all those options to change how your text looks? Well, we are going to do the same thing with CSS. We will learn how to change our text color, size, font, boldness, and spacing. Let's dive in. First up, we have the color property. This is like picking a pen with a specific ink color to write with. You can use color names, hex code, or RGB values. For example, we can change the color of a paragraph to red. Next is font size. This is where we adjust the size of our text, like using a zoom button in Microsoft Word. We can use different units like pixels or percentages. For instance, we can make a heading 24 pixels large. The font family property is like choosing a font from a drop-down menu in Microsoft Word. We can list many fonts in order of preference, and the browser will use the first one it finds. We already talked about it earlier in the previous lessons. With font weight, we decide how bold or thick our text will be. It's like choosing between a thin pencil or a thick marker in Microsoft Word. We can use values like normal or bold. In addition to the keyword values like normal or bold, the font weight property also accepts numeric values ranging from 100 to 900. These numbers represent the various thickness levels of the font. The higher the number, the thicker the text. Here are some examples of using numeric values for font weight. Keep in mind that not all fonts support all font weight values. It's important to check the available weights for your font and choose the appropriate value. Now let's talk about the text align property. This property allows you to control the alignment of text within an element. You can choose from several options like left, right, center, and justify. By default, the text is left aligned. If you want to justify the text so that it stretches to fill the entire width of the container, you can use the justify value. Remember that justifying text can sometimes result in uneven spacing between words, so use it with caution. Finally, we have line height. This controls the spacing between lines of text, just like adjusting the spacing between lines in Microsoft Word. We can use different units like numbers, percentages, or pixels. Now that we've covered the text, let's move on to backgrounds. We will learn about changing the background color, adding an image, and adjusting the size of that image. Here we go. The background color property lets you pick a color for the background of an element. You can use color names, hex codes, or RGB values. For example, if you want to make a div's background light blue, you will write it like this. With background image, we can set an image as the background of an element. We can use a local file path or a URL for the image, just like in the EMG element we discussed in this challenge. The difference is we need to add an URL keyword before the file path. Last but not least, we have the background size property. This controls the size of the background image to fit perfectly on the page. You can make the picture fit your element in different ways. Let's see what values can background size property has. Auto is a default option. The picture stays its original size. If it's too big for the element, it will be cut off. Cover, the picture is resized to fill the entire element. It keeps its shape, so some parts might be cut off if the picture and element have different shapes. Contain, the picture is resized so the whole thing shows up inside the element. If the picture and element have different shapes, there might be empty space around the image. Now it's time for some practice. We can use our project files to make some changes. As you can remember, we have a color palette from our client. We can use it to make the website looks more interesting now. Let's start with text properties. We already have a font family set to Fira Code. It's good, but we can adjust the text even more. For example, we can set a font weight property to 500, which gives us a semi-bold look, and the line height to 1/2 5, ensuring the text remains readable and well-spaced. Let's do this. In the style.css file, we already have a body selector with the font family property. This is an excellent place to apply the properties we've learned today, as they will affect all the elements on the website. Let's apply the new font weight and line height values to our website. We will set the font weight to 500 and the line height to 1.5. We don't have much text right now, so you might not see a big change with line height. But by setting it now, we get ready to add more text later, like in the About Me section. This helps keep our website looking nice and easy to read as we add more content. Let's now move on to the background. We want to achieve a strong contrast between the background and text. To achieve this, we can use a dark blue background color paired with white text. Let's apply these changes and see how they improve the website's look. Let's add our dark blue color to the background color property in the body selector. Do you remember which color system it is? In this case, we will use hex or a hexadecimal color system, using letters and numbers as a color code. Perfect. Now it's time to add a white color to the text. We can also use it within the body selector for every page element. How can we write a white color? In different ways. But to be consistent in our project, let's add it as a hex code too. It will be 6 F letters. Let's take a look at our project. You've got to agree that we've created a clean and modern look, and the website is starting to look pretty good now. Great job! CSS has many properties to help you style your web pages. We only discussed some of them in this lesson, but don't worry. You will naturally remember the ones you use often as you keep learning and practicing. The important thing now is to know where to find information about these properties. That's why I include additional resources in the Materials section. As we continue the coding journey and work on various sections of the website, you will discover more and more CSS properties. Keep practicing and trying new things with them, and you will become a pro at making great web pages.